Hello, I'm host Eric, and today we're going to talk about high drama, low drama moments. We're going to talk about whether or not an individual, how to relate to respective levels of drama within a relationship, a community, whatever. And the fun and exciting adventure that is interesting human interactions and some of the conflicts that occur between them. Earlier today, I don't remember when it was, some time ago, we were talking about something and there was discussion of what's the role of rules and punishment in a community such as this one. And I said, well, there's no rules, there's no need for any rules or punishment. What do you mean, you know? And of course, as always happens, most people look ahead a little ways and they say, well, maybe not right this second, but there probably will be. My position is rational people should never need rules. They could use a couple of rules that are guidelines for like understanding of the nature of the system. But I don't like coercive methodologies or rules in general. Now, this is where I see what Ken has to say. What do you think about rules, Ken?
They can be helpful. They can also be a hindrance. Really depends on the rules, why the rules is in place. I don't know. I'm speaking sort of ambiguously. What's that?
If you were required to make a new rule, talking with famous people, go to meeting room, what rule would it be?
It's difficult for me to say because first I feel like there would have to be a problem in order for me to create a new rule. So I'd have to observe the problem first. And even still, making a rule, that wouldn't be my first go-to. Perhaps a guideline or a reminder. And then if there was a failure for people to recognize that guideline or reminder, then you can move into a rule. But
a memo, maybe.
A memo.
Hi. First a guideline, then a rule. No, first a guideline, then first a suggestion, then a guideline, then a reminder, then a then a rule finally. Maybe. We have multi-step. A memo. We need to get a memo in there as well. What do you think about rules, Nefertiti?
I think that, they kind of develop as you go along, I think. Like Ken was saying earlier, you kind of you need like a situation in order to have a standpoint, kind of. And then there's this thing about chaos and order. Like, there should be like a good balance between those two, maybe.
Yeah.
But I would approach them in quite an intuitive way, I think.
I agree in general. The other thing is where a community draws its lines, and depending on the community, some of them can be quite high moisture tolerance and high accommodation for moisture. Like, we don't accept any comments that are this, that, this, the other thing, or something like that, you know. But this is a variety of plant that is desert tolerant. It needs very little moisture, so I think that it's tolerant of most kind of communication. that could mean that some people feel not as comfortable as they might otherwise feel in here if certain kinds of topics come up or yeah. Thoughts?
Casual says, I feel like Ken is judging me. Stop staring at my soul. So let's use this as an example. Do we need to create a rule in this situation? Should we make the rule of you're not allowed to stare into people's souls, or to make the appearance that you're staring into somebody's soul? Because
No.
Casual, he's been bothered. So then it's up to Casual to sort of get over it.
Right, but what if there were somebody who kept saying a bunch of just like non-topically suggestive things to someone else, then, and the other person clearly didn't like it, then at what point do we say, how do you think that stuff gets dealt with?
I mean, again, with intuition, like if that happens, that somebody says something that's not okay, then say something about it, or.
Right.
But I think because of the format that we have, because there's not necessarily a huge benefit to the moment somebody starts to do something, there's not a huge benefit for us to just be like, all right, you're out, and then just, sort of push them to the side. I feel like there's a certain amount of, maybe not even tolerance, but there's, like, the people who are here have to be able to put up with things to a certain degree. I'm not saying that they just have to put up with stuff, but, I mean, I feel like in this place the preference is to work out whatever issues we're having and to leave room for that rather than immediately saying, no, there's a problem, so now we need to remove either one of you so that they'll stop being a problem.
Right.
Are you talking about rules in general or rules here in GTM?
Well, about rules here, I guess, specifically insofar as that's what was being discussed earlier, that I thought would be a good topic, which is how do we respond to high drama moments, which basically boils down to rules. There are some high drama moments that may require more response than others. My basic position on it is what you guys said right there, which is rational people ought to be able to, I mean, anytime there's a dispute, I would rather it be openly evaluated by everybody and everything discussed and everybody voice their opinions about it until we determine who's right and who's wrong, regardless of what it is, If there's a right and a wrong thing, and of course I would say that shouldn't happen unless one party is pushing the thing to be adjudicated for a long period of time, because I don't want to default to, making a big deal about something that isn't legitimate at all. But at the same time, I do want to understand that different people weight different things differently, so different things will be evaluated as legitimate or not legitimate by different kind of parties. I think at the end of the day, shit will almost always blow over in any context, unless it's really shady, in which case that person needs to be called out and held to account in some fashion or another. But from my perspective, that fashion is going to be contingent entirely on the specifics of the situation. Like Nefertiti said, got to be intuitive with it. Those are my gut feelings about it, but I can see that I can imagine there's a lot of types that would disagree strongly with this and would probably present a reasonably effective case to the contrary, that you need to set expectations early on, you need to there's legal concerns, all this other stuff somebody might say. I don't hear a lot of voices jumping to that notion, that side of this team in this room, but
I don't think you can find middle ground here. There are so many types, so many quadras that what will be fine with some will be offensive to others. So if you ask everybody what they want and try to find middle ground, you will go nowhere. You have to just pick something and enforce it, I think.
I mean, what do you think about the idea that you can always talk out any problem, and there shouldn't be any need to use a appeal to a rule or some sort of aspect of coercion? If you keep talking about it, then it'll be abundantly clear to both parties who's right and who's wrong, if there's a right or a wrong. Or it should be possible, if you can permute them and sort of do both, that there should be a reasonable conclusion presented by one of the two parties. Well, what do you think about that notion? Nefertiti, since you just got back?
Repeat the last bit you said, sorry.
That it should be
Just the
possible
last-
for them to work it out by talking it out, and either one of them win and the other one lose, so they go, okay, you were right, I was wrong. Or figure out the split of that, like, okay, you were right about this, but I was right about this, but you were wrong about this. Or figure it out like, oh, well, here's a way where we can both be right, and then do that. One of those sort of outcomes there should be attained before there be a persistent dispute that can't be resolved.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, that's also why I'm here, because the MBTI is also like interesting, because it's about looking at things from all these different perspectives. And I really like the idea of, if there's a problem, I think that's like so interesting actually, to look at where exactly did the conflict happen? Like, how was it? Was it somebody who felt invaded somehow, and why was that? And like really try to understand all of the sides. And then I think just by understanding each other, that's already like gonna make everything a lot easier. But I think it can take quite a while to get to like pinpoint all these different things. And I think you have to look at it from a lot of different angles. But
When you said
yeah, like
somebody
that's
felt invaded, what other kind of problems do you think occur?
yeah, or invaded, or somebody's like values is like kind of attacked, or
On
what else? I think we all kind of want to be seen, don't we, for who we are. We want to kind of have this kind of reassurance. And I sometimes get frustrated if I don't feel understood or I don't feel seen. And maybe if I'm stressed, I'll react badly to that, and then that will cause like another conflict. I don't know, just like an example.
some,
But the being seen is quite important, I think. Sorry.
That's fine. Something I was going to bring up is that when it comes to the different types too, you have different communication styles. You have different people who it takes them longer to say certain things. And, you know, if you get more, not even types, like there's some types that generally seem to have more of a dominant appeal to them, or that they're just more extroverted or something like that. And there's also something on an individual basis. It's like, I think it can be frustrating for people who go at a slower pace to sort of be bombarded, and then they're like, well, there you go, and then sort of like the conversation's over. I think there needs to be, if there's one area we could improve in, is the ability to rehash and go back to a topic that we were on and not see it as like moving backwards. I think that's one important thing.
I mean, I agree with you. I wanted to address something Casual Lines P said when he said I looked like a proud father. That was not me looking like a proud father. That was me recognizing NE doing it's pulling the person behind it, right? So I do exactly what she did there. I do it every day a couple times. I go one too far. I cut somebody off and I go, oh, sorry, and then I physically express what she just did, where she's kind of like, yeah, like she's feeling the meow, right? That's the physical expression of meow, when you feel like, God, I fucked up. You know, I fucked up a little bit I didn't have any under enough control. That's what that expression was, to clarify. Yes, you may occupy a space, Nas. So you think, Ken, that it's a good idea to be willing to spend more time, to not be necessarily in a rush, to have more extended conversations, do you feel that it's important that those go? I mean, it's fine if it is, but do you think it matters if those go up on the main channel? Are you perfectly happy with them staying in the Talking with Famous People Raw channel, or what? Or does it matter at all to you?
They don't necessarily have to become their own videos. I'm just saying, some people, I think, in order to feel like they've fully expressed themselves, they might need to either go deeper into a topic or they need to come at it from more angles or something like that. I'm not just speaking for myself, even though I do feel like it definitely takes me longer in certain situations. I know that sometimes when people sort of are underneath the ENTP machine gun, they're just sort of sitting there afterwards like, I didn't really get to say what I wanted to say. So it's like something you have to, I think, go back to.
It is something I try to be attentive to. I try to give people the right amount of space, but I do tend to err on the side of what I believe to be the media's dictates, which tend to afford each person a little bit less time than perhaps the expansiveness regarding the idea would prefer, or that perhaps the individual would prefer. So, Naz, are you speaking or are you just typing? I think that is a just typing. Okay, Nefertiti, you got any thoughts on this? On this point of whatever I just said? Neff?
Oh, me, sorry. I've actually, for the last 2 days, I've been thinking about this thing, actually, really trying to listen more and interrupt less, because I have that problem that I always interrupt when something is not really finished, because I get so excited, and I don't mean badly, but like I've really thought about it, actually, and try to be more kind of attentive of that. So let's see if I succeed in this thing, because I'm trying to get better at it.
And the funny thing is, even when we do think about it, and we do experience some success in the matter, and even if we have a lot of practice, I think it's fair to say I've had a lot of opportunity to practice this stuff, and I'm intermittently attentive to it, but even after all that practice and that attention, I still do it, and I still carry on too long. Ideally, it's a nice, complete, single thought, and then go to the next person. Ken, thoughts?
One little addendum I was going to add to what I had said, because you were talking about, or Neff was talking about trying to slow down and things like that. Well, I am saying that we need to be able to rehash topics. I don't necessarily think that all the burden should be put on, say, like the NE-DOMs, for example, to just slow down for other people, because I think one-on-one conversations between some of the slower individuals, or either on GTM or on different mediums like Skype or something like that, using those as opportunities to have a slower environment so that they can talk, I think will be helpful, because that's something I have to do sometimes. Sometimes I have to use other mediums where I can talk to somebody for 5 hours so that I can come back to GTM and sort of not feel sort of stuffed up in a way. Because sometimes I'll get onto GTM and people don't want to listen to me monologue for 5 hours, which I totally get, but I want to monologue for 5 hours sometimes. So it's like, and when I say monologue, it's not really just me talking. It's more of a back and forth, but it's more sort of
chat. You like talking
focused.
to the chat.
Talking to the chat?
Basically, you're saying you like being the one person on camera who's talking to the chat. People are talking to you from the chat. No?
No.
Okay.
That's not what I'm quite talking about. No, I just prefer one-on-one settings mostly. But no, the thing I was saying is that I think for those of us who are slower, maybe we could utilize those things more, where we're doing like one-on-one, or 3 people total talking or something like that. That way we're not putting all the burden on the extroverts or like ENTPs or something like that to
you have to
just
log into
slow
the
down.
other room, right?
Yeah, I've been using the other room.
Oh, good. We have a third room if we need it.
What's the other room?
The other room is.
Are there other rooms?
Other room's not public. It's not recorded. We have to record it. We have 3 rooms. One of them I reserve for debate sometimes, but I don't use it all that often. So that's the famous / famous. It's / famous and / talking.
Did you post the link?
No, the talking one's kind of like secret or something. I don't know.
Oh,
I've been using the other one that I have moderator status in.
The famous one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So there are those rooms. I'll make the 3rd one available as we need it. It's fine. I think we will need it pretty soon. It seems like we got a lot of people coming in. I would love it if people sometimes.
yeah. Sometimes this one is full. Right.
This one has never been actually full. It says it's full because it fails to count properly when people leave that they're gone. And some of the time. So then it'll say like there's 100 people in there, even though there's only 16 people in there because it's counting 84 ghosts as still in the meeting.
We got spirits in the room.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask with the other room is I've been using that on occasion, and once in a while somebody will pop their head in. I don't know, just because they're clicking the old link. One question I was going to ask is, do you want it to be like first come, first serve, or something like that with the other room, where it's like whoever's in there doing their thing. If somebody else shows up, and it's
whoever
like
I give the login to, that's basically their room. If there's more than one person with the same login information, the only person who currently has a login information besides me for the 3rd room is Tim. But I'm gonna remove him from admin on that, and I'll make somebody else admin on it. It's fine. I mean, you can have admin on it, Ken, if you want. He's fine. Right. He's just embarrassed, and there's no reason to be embarrassed. I think he's embarrassed because he said, "Yeah, I'm coming out there. I bought a plane ticket," and then a couple months later, he's like, I'm not coming out there after all." But the plane ticket was non-refundable. But it was like $180 or something. It's not the end of the world. I told him no stress about it, but whatever. So I ate a $180 plane ticket. It's a gamble anyway. When I made that deal, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take a shot on this. It's fine. I don't care. It was meant for him not to be here, obviously, or else he would be here.
So is he taking more time, or?
No, he went to he went to Boise to be with family or something like that. I don't know. Who cares? It doesn't matter. The point is, why isn't he around? Because he thinks that that's too embarrassing to deal with, but it's not. That's my read on it. It's not a big deal, and so what? Plans fall through all the time. That's the nature of plans. That says the ENTP. That's the nature of plans. They fall through all the time. What are you fussing about? Usually that's what comes after that is, what are you fussing about? It's not a big deal. I know I said I was going to be there then, but yeah.
I think it's never mind.
What?
I just wanted to say something, but I'm not sure about it.
I bet it's fine, casual. I bet
Yeah,
it's fine.
let me just. Yeah, I think it is a, what is it? A process results thing. Yeah, but he's ENTP too, so no, it's not. The thing when you said like plans fall apart.
Oh. Well, that's one of those things where ENTP doesn't understand that the other person's feelings got hurt in some way that we get intellectually, but we fail to anticipate. Then we get a little defensive and we go like, what? You're fine. There's no reason to be all upset. You're just getting all better for nothing. It's a ongoing cycle.
It's like even if the person tells you explicitly that he's fine, you still think that he may not be, right?
Right. Because I'm able to read it when they're upset at me usually. I've got that part down. I can usually tell when people are mad at me.
It's just by change of behavior, if you know them well, like you know how they
Yeah.
usually act. But yeah,
And usually I can figure out what they're upset about. I probably know. Because I thought to myself that they might get upset about that, and then sometimes they do and sometimes they don't.
or maybe sometimes they do more of the times they don't.
Sometimes it takes
No,
time for
just think,
people
Go ahead, Neff.
to. No, I was just saying that thing like when you have a feeling that somebody's upset with you, and sometimes and you're like, oh, what did I do? And then maybe it takes time for them too to even realize what exactly it is that got them upset, And some people are just instantly, that those timings can be different sometimes. I just thought about it.
That's true.
Sometimes it's like
Go ahead,
the
Casual.
person. Sometimes it's like the person is like, oh, sorry, in this, and you don't know why they think you're upset, and then when they like explain themselves, you start to think like you should have been upset about that thing, because usually like nothing gets to me, like nothing offends me or something, and then someone says something, they start apologizing, and that makes me like, how come I didn't get upset because of what he said or what he did,
Or for me, it happens the other way around.
It looks like
That
there's a
somebody
big
gets
red
upset
penis.
with me.
It looks like there's a big red penis on Naz's shoulder.
It does, actually.
It looks like a big red penis on Naz's shoulder.
Yeah.
Just shooting out from your shoulder into the sky. I'm sorry to have interrupted the train of thought that you guys were having. I was just distracted by that. I was like, that's so penis.
Yeah, it does. Son, have you seen it yourself? That you got this.
Oh god, he touched it.
No, he touched it with
Yeah.
his thumb. He touched the bottom
It's
of it.
his toy.
So-
It's in the trunk of it, like he has a trailer. The thing that you pull behind the car, and he's putting that in. He's traveling with it.
So, is that our
Yeah.
conversation about rules? That was supposed to be a video about rules and drama. Did we finish the topic? Anybody have any last thoughts about rules and drama?
I had that one thought of the one that, because Casual said the thing that if somebody reminds you, like, oh, were you upset about that? And then he's like, oh, maybe I should have been upset about that. Like, for me, sometimes it happens the other way around, that people kind of, if somebody gets upset with me when I have not done anything wrong, then I think that I've done something wrong just because people get upset with me. I have that thing. Or if I go through security control in the airport, I feel like I've done something just because it's like people in uniforms like looking at me, and I'm like, oh shit, but I haven't done anything wrong, like the kind of opposite way of what Casual would say, like overly.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the heck that is, but I'll have that too. Especially when I was younger, I used to have this fear of being caught, not because I did something, but because I act really fucking guilty when I get caught about anything. Especially when I was younger, because people would be like, you did this thing, and then I'd start shaking, and they'd take that as proof that I did the thing, and it's like, I never did it. But it was like, they just decided, yeah, he looks guilty as shit, so he did it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, I just felt like having that.
I'm kind of.
Yeah, totally.
I was kind of the same way. One of my more memorable experiences from my childhood, actually, is this was before I started smoking cigarettes. My parents found this cigarette, or my dad found cigarette cellophane. It comes out cigarette pack, like this thing. And in our back of our driveway area, where I don't know how it got there, but he was quite certain that it was me smoking, like really sure of it, and really pushing hard to confirm that it was me. And accused me of it multiple times. And I said, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about. It's very memorable.
So you're like, you might as well start smoking if he's
Right.
accused.
Well, I didn't like the fact that I was being accused and I couldn't prove myself innocent, and that bothered me. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it, and I remembered and that's why I remember it, because I really didn't like it. I don't remember a whole lot of shit from my childhood. I'm trying to about my memory.
That's really frustrating.
I remember specific events like that. My childhood, I think probably everybody's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it may have something to do with where your SI is, but mine is comprised of the time when blah, 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 the time when blah, 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 blah. It's a bunch of events that are usually either I hurt my whatever, or I scraped my whatever, or I got caught doing whatever, or something like that, something bad. Like the time I had to write standards in shop class. Fucking shop class. I hated shop class. I was terrible at shop class.
What is shop class?
So you have to, I was in metal shop. There's wood shop and metal shop. I was in metal shop.
Oh, okay.
And you have to we had to make tongs, first of all. We had to make tongs so that we could use them to make other things.
Yeah.
My tongs were pretty shitty.
Here they have two classes. One is called technology, and the one it's called familiar stuff or something like that. And usually it's in middle school. Usually they put the guys in technology when they have to deal with like this shop stuff, and the girls in the other class where they teach them how to sew things and how to change diapers. And somehow they put me in the one where I learned what? Yeah, home things. They put me in that one, and I was me and my friend. We got with the girls, and they taught us how to sew and stuff. And we used to get the higher scores in sewing and doing the girly stuff,
It's called homemaking in America, the class, but they don't have it anymore. It used to exist. It was existent when I was in school. They still had homemaking when I was in middle school. It's the last time I remember seeing it.
Yeah,
we had sewing, cooking, and woodwork.
But I bet in Sweden, it's totally not gender specific. Like males probably take sewing just as much as females do, right?
Yeah, you do all of them. Like everyone gets to do all of them. So it's non-gender specific. And then I think there's one period when you get to choose. And then I chose the woodwork one. So you get to choose between sewing or woodwork. The cooking, everyone gets to do that one. I was terrible. I was just playing with the food.
I would have rather done homemaking, really, in retrospect. I probably would have enjoyed it more than I enjoyed metal shop, which I was terrible at, and drafting, which I got a mercy C in that class. I've never experienced anything I was worse at. All it required me to do was use a ruler properly, and I was just fucking terrible at it. And drafting, the old way that you had to do it before computers, right, in middle school, you had to use one of those things with a round thing in it, measure angles, and it was awful. It was awful. It's like TE, just pure
we didn't have that.
TE. Ken would have hated every fucking second of drafting class. That is straight, pure distilled TE shot into your vein.
What class is that? What class?
Drafting. It was
What
something
is drafting?
I had to take it in middle school, or I chose to take it. I chose between the boy electives, and that meant metal shop and drafting, rather than my other choices were wood shop, and I should have taken wood shop, but I took metal shop because it sounded cooler. I don't know. So, or I could have taken a sport, but I didn't do a competitive sport, so I had drafting. Anyway, the point is, Drafting was before it had computers, and you had to draw architectural diagrams or diagrams for how to build things or diagrams of how to anything. You drafted, you use drafting paper, and you use these rulers and these circle things and shit like that. I hated it.
Yeah. Because I've got like an aesthetic thing for those like types of papers and stuff, but like I would never be able to do a diagram or anything. I just like doing fake ones. I don't know. I just like the look of those papers and stuff.
I would
Millimeter
probably
paper.
be fine at it now. I think I'd be okay at it now because of that. I have enjoyed the art of precision with making things like sentence diagrams, where I don't know if you know sentence diagramming, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, I use rulers to draw those lines, but I sentence diagram I make worksheets for grammar instruction with those. I think now I'd probably be okay at drafting, but it's still what I wouldn't want to do is what I had to do in there, which is copy this, basically copy this, you know.
Yeah, for me it was like it was art school, a class, you know, in middle school.
Art class.
I thought, yeah, I thought it's like because the teacher was never satisfied with what I made, what I've drawn or what I painted. So I was like, yeah, this sucks. It's like I think I've drawn something.
Did you have to
really
copy things, or did you get to draw freely? Casual.
I think the beginning was like you have to copy. Or they just tell you to draw a vase, you know, at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like I put a lot of effort in it, and I think that really looks good. And when I go to show it to the teacher, she's like, nah, that sucks.
But that's terrible. I think there's so many stupid teachers who have like ruined people's artistic freedom like that just by saying something like that. That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't know though. Maybe it's because there is like no standards, or maybe I just didn't know the standards.
I think in art, I don't think there should be those rules like what's good, what's not. I mean, it's about expressing yourself.
Yeah, but if I know like what's good and what's bad, I could like have avoided the bad things. You know, like I know it's like, for example, when you're doing a math exam or something, you know how much score are you gonna get afterwards, because you can see what did you get right or wrong, and you know how many points are for each question. But for art and stuff like that, it depends on the mood of the teacher, basically. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. But that's why being an art teacher, it's sort of almost like being a therapist. You know, the way the therapist should never like tell the person what to do, but rather like help the person finding it within themselves, like that sort of kind of almost being like a mentor rather than somebody, you know, it's like such a different form of expression, you know. It's so different from the world of maths.
Yeah, it's like the teacher has to he has to understand that everybody is like different, and he has to show the student what is special about them and help them develop them, instead of like trying to conform everyone into their taste of art.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened.
And
yeah, I think
that's our conversation about rules. So you can see how much we love rules and how much we like following the plan. And I, for one, am very happy with this successful explication of the role of rules around talking with famous people.